All right, there we go. Go ahead and unselect that. There we go. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, aka Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and Miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our Wargaming Weeklies. All right. I decided to go ahead and do it today. These come out weekly, but never on the same day. But if you've never come to any of these live streams, what they are is me just sitting here for a couple hours, usually from 11 to 1 or so Central Time, just working on a project that I'm currently working on, talking, shooting the shit, stuff like that. All right, so if you have any comments or any chat, you just go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will read them when I'm able to see them or when I notice them, etc. I don't go out of my way to look for the chat, but I do want to make sure that I answer all your questions. And if I don't catch it till the end of the video, then what I'll do is I'll do an info dump. I'll just address each question at the end. That's kind of the way I do things, because I'm concentrating on painting. I'm not looking up here at my monitor. Okay, so let's talk about my current project right now. I'm currently working on some British vehicles, right? That's really what I'm working on. Oh yeah, and these three guys. But because I had these British Vickers machine guns, anti-tank guns, and Bofors guns, I figured I'd do them all at the same time. Now this project is more than just me just painting these. I'm going through a phase where I'm trying to determine what the best color is for my vehicles. And as you know, I've talked a big game about this UK bronze green, right? Oh, let me do this. Let me adjust that zoom. Yeah, I think that would look way better. Okay, so we talked about this UK bronze green, which, as you can see, is like a really dark green. It's so dark that it almost looks gray. Okay, and because I talked such a big game, I went ahead and primed these guys using this, and then I even used the Russian green, Russian uniform as a highlight, like dry brushed it on or whatever, and it still didn't look right. It just didn't look right. Whoa, what's going on with my... Give me a second, guys. Oh, I see what the problem is. There we go. I'm just being stupid, but lock it in. There we go. I wanted to have a blue border around me. Okay, sorry. So I decided to make a okay, so before I show you this, I wanted to color match that, right? I wanted the end result to be this color. From all my research, and here's another, that looks extremely gray to me, right? That's a gray image, but when you look at the painting, it's more green, right? Like a Russian green or what have you. But and the Plastic Soldier Company recommends Russian uniform and olive gray, right? Russian uniform. Well, the olive gray, I suppose, would be the helmets, but Russian uniform and olive gray is for the helmets. But they say, okay, it's crew uniform. Here it is, carrier body Russian uniform. Well, so I tried that. I took out my Russian uniform spray and I sprayed some guys with Russian uniform. It also did not look very good. It looked way too bright. And so I decided I was just going to go through all of my greenish colors, and I made a little okay, if I go really fast you can't read it. Okay, so I made a color palette for me to kind of evaluate how I was going to go ahead and paint these guys. And you can see this is the bronze green in the middle, which looks okay. It's just really dark. And knowing that whenever you paint a small figure like 15 millimeters, darker color, all colors will look darker. So if I painted it with this color, it's going to come out extremely dark. So I didn't want that. I wanted to bring the temperature up just 1 or 2 steps so that when we look at it on the table, it'll look correct. Okay, so I sprayed light olive. Okay, this is a Humbrol paint. That's this color right here. And then this is a Tester's olive drab, a Tamiya olive drab 2, the US olive drab from Vallejo, and then both of these uniform green, or Russian uniform and Russian green. Well, Russian uniform looks too brown for the look that I want. I wanted it to be more green, less brown. But I didn't want it to be this dark. So I thought, okay, this is a good 1 point brighter green. This would be really good. So I tried light olive. Well, light olive on this board looks dark. I don't know if I caked it on there or what happened, but it looks dark. But on the model, it actually looked closer to, I don't know, it just looked like a cross between these two. It was really light. I don't have an example out here, but it came out very light. And well, it's called light olive, so it actually came out close, even lighter than this band. It just looked too light, so I gave up on that color. And then I said, well, the next step is this one, right? This one I considered because it's Russian green, but it is on the. It goes beyond the pale, right? There's levels of green, and this one goes too far to the green. I wanted it to still be a little bit grayish, so I went with this Tamiya OD2. That's this, right? And pretty close. So I took my figures that I had already primed with the UK bronze, and I lightly misted, kind of like just, but I made sure all 4 sides and the top was covered. But It was really just a light mist with the Tamiya. I just went, you know, you get the idea. And I think it came out perfect. I think this is my new British armor color. Okay. So that's what these guys are. But it didn't stop there. I took Russian uniform and I dry brushed over the Tamiya olive, right? The olive drab 2, actually, because they have different olive drabs. I'm still waiting on my AK OD number 15, because that is actually what is supposed to be the color I'm looking for. But in the meantime, that might go on my armor recovery vehicle or my half tracks, which I'll do in the future with that olive drab 15. But looking at these guys, you know, this with the Tamiya olive drab and the Russian uniform dry brush, it came out a little bit lighter than this picture, which is what I wanted. Remember, I wanted it to be a little bit lighter because of the effect that it has on the table. So I'm very happy with the green color that that I pretty much discovered. So to make a long story short, I primed with bronze green, and then I gave a mist, a light coating of the Tamiya OD2, and then I dry brushed Russian green, and that's the effect I got. And that's without a wash. I'm still going to wash it, and when I do that, it's going to darken it up even more, and I think it'll be perfect. Okay, next thing I wanted to kind of discuss, paint color wise. Remember, if you're watching my World War II project updates, or if you watch my weekly store updates, I talked about I just got these Tamiya German gray. Yeah, German gray. I got these in, and there we go. And I got these in specifically because I have some German armor vehicles that I sprayed with the Vallejo Panzer Gray, and the Panzer Gray comes out like this, right? And this Panzer Gray is like just one step short of black, right? And I don't really like that color on my tanks. So I used the German gray, sprayed it on my another half track. I didn't do that one just so you could see, but this came out a little bit lighter. You can see the difference, right? This one looks like just black primer, really, is what it kind of looks like, but this looks gray, and I really like that look. I still have to wash it, and I still need to paint all the figures, and this is unpainted. This is just primed. Yeah, so this is my new go-to for gray German vehicles, because not all of them are gray. Okay, we're going to get to painting here in just a second. Okay, so I've already gone over the infantry figures that are exposed in. Okay, let me see if I can't. Oh yeah. Just get these out of the way. I've already painted all the infantry figures with English uniform, but what I'm noticing is it's very dark. So I'm going to highlight them, not completely paint them, just highlight them with US Field Drab. This should be a fairly fast process. Okay, so I've, as you know, I'm working towards all the scenarios in my different books. I have a list of figures that are needed for all those scenarios. And it's not a complete list of everything that you could possibly get in a battle group. It's just what's needed in those scenarios. So I know that I need so many tanks, I need so many infantry, so many paratroopers for all the different scenarios, so that if I ever wanted to play one of these scenarios, I would have the required number of figures to play. Okay, now my tongue is out and I'm thinking about painting these guys. So bear with me. Oh yeah, that looks way better. I'm very happy with the way these guys are starting to turn out now, finally. Okay, so well, that's perfectly fine if I'm playing those scenarios. But if I'm not playing those scenarios, if we're playing either a pickup game or a point-driven campaign or something like that, then I'm not going to have everything available to a player, to an army list, right? So I'm planning on playing a campaign called Canada's Crucible. That's why I'm working on these UK figures. And there's an army list for the Canadian division. I think it's the third. Regina's Rifles or something like that. And I'm kind of trying to build towards the scenarios, but at the same time have an open mind to build troops that are not in any of the scenarios, just to make sure I get enough troops so that when the players say, okay, we want this reconnaissance troop with this and that, I'll have the figure that we can do, if you know what I mean. I want to basically complete my collection and not just do the scenarios. I mean, the scenarios are a good start towards having a complete collection. That's the way I was going to do it. I was going to do the scenarios first and then add on as we go. But because we're getting ready to do this Canada's Crucible in the next few months, I wanted to expand my collection. Like in none of the scenarios can you get, I mean, in none of the scenarios is there a Bofors anti-aircraft gun. But the Bofors is part of the Army list. Now, the scenarios that I'm working towards are all the scenarios in the D-Day book, the Beyond the Beaches book, Market Garden, Lockdown Rhine, and Canada's Crucible. It's a lot of scenarios, a lot of figures. But if I get about 3 to 5 platoons of infantry for the British, the Germans, and the Americans, I'll pretty much have everything for most scenarios. You just need like an anti-tank gun here, a tank there, a this there, a Jeep, but all of that kind of stuff is gradually getting added to my collection. Okay, so I ordered a pack of Cromwell armored recovery vehicles, not realizing that Canada is not using the Cromwell armor recovery vehicles. They're actually using the Sherman armor recovery vehicles. So that was a misorder. So that's for sale on the website. If you go to eBay, it's right there. I've decided to go ahead and sell them, and then I'll have to reorder some Sherman ARVs, which I was going to order those. I was going to order the Shermans the other night when I ordered the Cromwells, but I said, oh, I don't need to do it right now because I'm not really working on the Americans right now. I'm kind of put a hold on them. I said, so let's not overdo it. Let's just go ahead and get the Cromwells, and now I regret that decision. That was a mistake. I should have just went ahead and got them. Also, I've been avoiding getting the Dingo because the Dingo is not in any of my scenarios. But it is in the Canada Crucible Army list options. So I said, okay, why not? Let's just go ahead and get the Dingo. So I've got I think it's a Flames of War Dingo Scout Troop or whatever it is. I think I got one of those. There's like 4 vehicles, 2 Dingos and 2 something else. Daimlers, maybe? Something. Armored cars. Which all of those are going to be needed anyway. Possibly. Okay, this U.S. field drab on top of the English uniform, it looks really good. And it makes them stand out a little bit more. Brings out the details. Now, I don't know why I'm really um, trying to stay between the lines, because this is really the first color going on, so I can overpaint if I want. Because like I still haven't painted the flesh or the boots yet, so it's okay if I get it on those. But really, I'm just trying to lighten up English uniform. Okay, also, I have a bunch of half tracks, American half tracks from Flames of War, little plastic models that need to be put together. Um, I'm gonna paint them up. Uh, I'm gonna do like a 50-50, like paint some of them as Americans and then paint some of them as British. Um, but I know the British have these things called the M5, and the Americans are running around with M3s. But I don't care. The difference is so subtle that I don't really, at this scale, I don't care. Um, I was hoping that there was a bit or a part or a something in the half track sprue that allowed me to make uh, other variants like the mortar, but it wasn't in there. There was no like mortar piece where you can make your half track a mortar half track. So I went to Old Glory and I think I ordered some. I know I ordered because I've already gotten them in. Damn it, mortar half tracks. Yeah, you can really see the difference in the crew color, the brightness of the crew. Maybe you can't on the camera, but that's okay. Um, I think. Yeah, that's the main thing. I basically just want to share that with you guys. I got a lot of new product in at the store, so if you're interested, you should go check that out. Um, I got a lot of got some Perry stuff that I have not posted, um, but that's probably going to be posted tonight. Perry does 28 millimeter, and I got some tanks and some infantry. I think I got some Fallschirmjägers from them. I'm gonna post them, but my original plan was to get them in so that I could paint them. But I've got so many things to paint. I mean, it's crazy how many things I've got to paint that I figured that I'll just go ahead and post it for sale as I'm painting. I'll pull stuff down and then paint it. And that way, if you want it, you can get it. And then if I don't have it when it's time to paint, I can always reorder it, if that makes sense. Got some Rubicon in. Doubled my order, basically. Got some boxes. Now there was a viewer, part of the community, that mentioned that it's made with ABS plastic, and you need a special type of glue. I don't know if that's right. 2 people actually said it, so it lends me to believe that they are correct, because, you know, basically you had a second opinion. But I'm going to assemble one here pretty soon, and when I do, I'm going to use some non-ABS plastic glue. I'm just going to use super glue and not plastic cement, because I never use plastic cement. I have plastic cement, but it's the green bottle, which is the thin. It's like thinned out, and the only reason why I have it is so that when I trim my ABS plastic Flames of War figures, you know, like the soft plastic, if there's a sprue line or a mold line, I usually trim that up with a sharp knife. But just to make sure, I'll run some of that glue over the edge, because it'll melt it. And if it's hard plastic, like a lot of these guys from the Plastic Soldier Company, I'll do the same thing on the tops of their helmets or whatever, just to make sure that they're smooth and not have a ridge. Okay, I'm noticing that when this field gray or field drab dries, it dries pretty dark. Okay, something's going on with this brush. No, what just happened? Okay. I think this brush might be on its last legs. When putting these carriers together, I used Crew. Well, first of all, the Plastic Soldier Company gives you something like 10 different Crew poses so that you can pick and choose who goes in what crew or who goes in what carrier kind of thing. Now they're set up to be used specifically for certain weapon types. Like the Vickers machine gun would use these crew, the mortar would use these crew, etc. But I don't subscribe to limiting myself, so I took crew members that didn't belong, and I kind of figured a way to get them to fit in, or set up their pose. Like some of them are leaning on the back railing, and if you turn them around, they can lean on the front railing. So basically I just did that. Tried to put a variety of poses in. Some of them couldn't be used because they had to be used specifically with a machine gun or something, a mortar. So I basically used the ones that I could use. Oh, that's another thing. Looking at this vehicle right here, it made this one vehicle made my mind up. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the Flames of War carriers or the Plastic Soldier Company carriers until I looked at the Flames of War carriers, and they really only had a couple of different variations. You had the Bren gun or the flamethrower. And that was pretty much it. Where the Plastic Soldier Company carriers, you can do a 2-inch mortar. You can do a various types of machine guns. You can do a 3-inch mortar. You can do a command carrier, which is this one right here. Once I saw that you could do a command carrier, that could be one of the variants, I put the Flames of War carriers down and I grabbed the Plastic Soldier carrier box, and this is what you get. Plus all the variants of the crew and everything. That was pretty good. I did not make a flamethrower carrier, and I didn't make the 3-inch mortar or the machine gun carriers. I I basically just did the brain gun, light machine guns in the front. And I did do a 2-inch mortar one and a command one. Now the webbing on these guys, the infantry, there's a lot of different references that give a lot of different colors. Right, so which one is correct? Or are they all correct? Because maybe there was variance. Some people say it's khaki. Some people say it's more of a canvas. Some people say that it's more of a dyed green canvas. So I thought about doing like a extremely light green dyed version for their gear, but actually the majority of the references that I checked showed that it's kind of like a bleached out khaki, almost beige. Because I guess over time the sun gets to it and fades it out. So what I plan to use is khaki webbing. Because even though khaki webbing is extremely light, which is good, when I go to wash these guys, it'll darken it up. It might supposed to be a little green. If that's, I'm gonna do a little verification of that before I jump onto the webbing. Look at some photos of historical equipment which I actually have a book that has photographs of the uniforms. Oh yeah, um, the Lloyd carriers. All right, they come with crew as well. Um, and so what I did was I took some of the crew from the Lloyd carriers and I put them in the Bren carriers. But then I took a couple of the Bren crew and put them back in the Lloyds. So I just basically mix and matched crew to get a good variety. Okay. All right. Last but not least, the Lloyd carriers. About about once a month, I will wash my brushes. Uh, I'll use paint remover and brush soap, boiling water to reconstitute my brushes. Um, and that's been doing well for me for the last year or so. Letting my brushes, extending the life of my brushes. Yeah, because this brush is starting to have seen better days. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to move on from this brush. I don't think reconstitution is gonna help. But right now I'm just painting something that doesn't really need a whole lot of detail. So I'm not really too concerned about a frayed brush on these guys right now. Now, these Lloyd carriers, I don't know how the passengers, where they're supposed to sit. Because I don't really see any chairs. Well, on these, I actually see, hypothetically, like the sides would have seats, but it looks like they're covered with equipment. Uh-oh, can you hear that lawnmower? Yeah, I don't know if you could hear my wife working in the kitchen. Basically, she was just filling the dishwasher. But now there's someone else outside mowing the lawn. That's one of the reasons why I like recording videos extremely late at night when everybody's asleep. You know, I don't like the noise bleeding over into the video. But you guys might not be able to hear it. I've got a noise gate on my microphone, but you also might be able to hear it, so I don't know. Especially when I'm talking. When I'm talking, you're probably going to hear it because my voice opens the noise gate, and once it's open, it's going to record everything. Okay, there is all the English types. We'll call them Canadians. Okay, I won't be able to use this brush much longer, so. Yeah, you should definitely be able to hear all that because I'm noticing my microphone meter is going up when there's mowing outside, so you should be able to hear that. Okay, so I'm gonna paint a bit, but when we get to a specific spot, or time that is, I'll probably stop and actually we'll have a discussion about army lists. Actually, do we really even bother? We don't really need to do that. Okay, I'm thinking what am I thinking? I don't want to do the hands just yet. Face, no problem. Hands, not so much. Canvas. Let's do some canvas. And I'm using Panzer Ace's canvas. Now, not everything's going to have any canvas. Now these quads, I don't think they're hard tops, but they might be hard tops. Let's take a look. Give me a second. Let's get that out of the way. Oh, I gotta change my glasses. Okay. Oh yeah, I could do it that way. Okay. I'm trying to type around this keyboard, this tripod. Okay, that makes me believe that it's a hard top. Right? That's like hard AF. But this makes me think that it is canvas. I need some, okay. Oh my gosh. Is it stretched canvas? Well, that picture sucked. That picture sucks too. Come on, Tamaya, do me right. What do we got here? Looks like a hard top, but there's right in the center, they've got like a canvas covering the sun top, sun thing. Okay, that's not a. Yeah, like this little square right here is probably open and they've got canvas that would cover that. But this quad doesn't really show anything like that. Got like a little piece of, it's got like a little trap door above the driver. Or is the driver on the other side? You know, being British, you know. Yeah. This looks like a hard top. I mean, you can even see the guy did the weathering and stuff like it's metal. And then there's an opening there. Okay, so I don't think there's any canvas on my model. I'm not going to, yeah, because mine, okay, this is weird looking. This is a toy of some kind. But you see how that little door is right above there? That's how that quad looks. Oh, kind of like that. Yeah, so there's no canvas on the one I've got. Okay, no problem. No canvas on those guys. Ah, good. It's starting to feel like it's actually mixing. Really? Okay. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Boop. Boop, boop, be doop. I haven't really done a whole lot of British World War II wargaming. I'm almost always American and German. Almost always. I mean, I've played a few Russian games. I've uh, little or no Japanese. And I don't think I've done any UK infantry. I've done a ton of like naval battles with the UK, specifically with one of my friends that loves naval battles. Okay. I'm glad that this canvas color is thinned out because it's going to add it's going to add an illusion of texture by drying inconsistently. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but So I started working on my mailbox, right? I got a sledgehammer and started breaking the concrete. I even had on the second day, because I started Saturday, and then Sunday, um, the neighbor across the street, very friendly couple, came over and said, would you like their nephew, because he's visiting, to come over and help you break some concrete? And I was like, he's visiting you. He doesn't, he doesn't need to work. And they were like, yeah, we'll send him over here and he'll help you out. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So he came over and he started breaking up the concrete with me. And he's a little bit, he's got some meat on his bones, because he did twice the work that I did. Yeah, so that was helpful. But we still hadn't really gotten anywhere. We were just chipping away at it a little bit at a time. And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was going to take me a few days to get to the ground underneath the concrete. And then this guy from also across the street, but a different house, came over and he says, I don't think you should be doing that. You shouldn't be breaking the concrete. And I'm like, I've contacted the mayor. I've contacted the street department. Nobody wants to help me. So I'm taking matters into my own hands. I don't mind doing it. I'll be honest. I have no problem. It's a lot of work. I don't mind. I don't mind getting out there and getting my hands dirty. The problem is, I don't want to do it if I'm not supposed to be doing it. You know what I mean? Like, if the street department doesn't want me to do it, I won't do it. If they want to come out and take care of it themselves, well, first of all, it'd be a lot easier on me. I want to do the right thing, is what I'm trying to say. But because I haven't gotten any help, and it's been almost a month, if not over a month, since my first contact, it looks horrible. Broken mailbox, some janky Brico blocks out there, trying to make everything look good. It doesn't. So I got to get out there and do it. I got to do it myself. But he come over and he said, you shouldn't be doing that. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? He goes, well, that's not the street department's, they're not going to send somebody out to do that. And, because see, he works at the park department, right? And he was like, they have to contract somebody to come out and do this. And I was like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to pay a guy like, I don't know, $1,000 or whatever it costs to come out and do this. They could come out with a blade. They could cut the concrete and they'd be done in less than an hour. Right? I mean, they don't even have to lay the concrete. I'll lay the concrete. But they're going to want to do it themselves. And I'm like, okay, well, get them out here. Let them do it. And he's like, no, you're going to have to call and talk to somebody. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've already done this. He was just trying to be helpful, I know, but he was telling me things that I had already done and got no results. So I gave up on the street department. I'm doing it myself. Okay, this might need a second coat. That one there. The rest, probably not. Probably not so much. Because I think that first one had a little bit too much water. And so it basically looked like I was blending it or something. Ooh, my foot. Okay, my foot just started throbbing. Um, my foot that's missing a toe. I don't know if you know this, but I had an infection in my toe when I was working at Best Buy. I had to go to the hospital and they cut one of my toes off. My pinky toe. It's okay. It doesn't throw off my balance or anything like they say the big toe would do. But what I meant to get at was, so I went out there Saturday, bus, spent and recorded breaking some concrete. My sledgehammer weighs a ton. It's actually an 8-pound sledge, but it the 8 pounds is just the head. The thing probably weighs 100 pounds. I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but it's heavy. And swinging it, no problem. It's the picking it up after I've swung it is the part that's hard because it's freaking heavy, and I've swung it like 100 times. So, so I gave up that night after breaking a little bit of the concrete. Then went out the second day on Sunday. Had some help from Jeremy from across the street. Uh, we broke up about we broke quite a bit more up. Um, and then this guy came over and stopped us, which is about the time I was getting ready to stop anyway. I might do a little bit more work today. I might go out there and, if I just do 30 minutes to an hour of banging every day, eventually I'll break all the concrete up. That was my plan, was not to overexert myself. Just break a little bit every day until it finally breaks free, and then I can lift the mailbox post up and out. And then Monday, I was doing okay until dinner time or so. And then my muscles started to get really sore. It's like it took a while, but remember, I'm over like 100 years old. I'm not a young man anymore. And yeah, so Monday I was like really tired. Not tired, but sore. Sunday I was not sore. And today I'm recovering from being sore. I'm not like last night. It was hard for me to stand up from my chair. It's like my back, once you sit down, my back and my legs kind of settled into a certain position. So when I stood up, I was like, "Oh, my back, I can't straighten my back." After this canvas, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. Just so you know. Okay, that needs a drop of water. Before we go any further, because I have I'm going to have to go use the bathroom. Or better yet, let's just go ahead and take the break right now. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. So let me type that up. Oh, that didn't show up on my chat. Let me refresh this. Okay, I can't see what I'm doing. My Twidget or whatever they call it. Yeah, Tower of Trolls Gaming. I believe the slope back were hardtop. Yep, thanks for that. I pretty much agree with that. Okay, so break 5 minutes. Okay, I don't know why my Twidget is not working. Okay, but either way, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'm almost back. All right, let's see if I can get this Twidget working. What I think happened...
See, what I think happened was...
when I started the live stream, I have a feeling... Okay, let's stop that. Perfect. Start. Try again. Connect. Loading. All right, hey, that works. You can see now I can go boop. And there it goes. What? Tower of Trolls Gaming, I believe the slope back for hardtop. Absolutely. Working. Okay. Unselect that, and I can get back to what I was doing, which was canvas. Oh, wait, medicine. Sorry, I got some. So I'm probably not going to go out there today and break. Okay, let's see. Break ground. All right. And tomorrow, one reason why I'm probably not going to do it today is I feel I got this painting itch. You know, when your body or your mind tells you it's time to paint, don't ignore it. Paint. Because there will be other times, specifically me, I don't know about you, but there will be other times where my body or my mind will say, I don't want to paint today. I don't feel like it. But for the last couple of years, I've probably painted more figures in the last 2 years than I painted my entire life. And I'm being serious. I've painted army after army after army after army in the last, well, maybe 3 years. We'll call it 3 years. Because I did an entire Quatre Bras in 28 millimeter twice. The entire thing for black powder. French and British and all the other minor nations. Brunswickers and Dutch Belgians and Nassau and this and that and everything in between. Twice. Because I did it once while I was still working at Best Buy. And I decided to sell my collection. This is before I went into business. I said, you know what? I'm gonna sell this collection, just get rid of it. Maybe go in a different direction like World War II or something else. So I sold it and I made a killing. I mean, it was a lot of figures, you know. And it did take me a long time to paint all those. So I sold them, and then the gears started working in the back of my mind saying, you could make a living doing this. People buy painted figures, assembled and painted, and keeps them from having to paint their own figures. And it's like, I'll go to websites like Warlord Games or whatever, and they'll sell painted tanks. And I'm like, what are they doing? And now I realize there's people out there, and they're usually sold out. There are people out there that don't have the time to paint, or the skill, or the supplies, or the space. I can do it. And so I left Best Buy, made a I think that's all the canvas. Made an eBay store, which I already had. It just wasn't very full. I had like 5 items on it or whatever. And then I just started cranking miniatures out and putting them on the store, and people were buying them up left and right. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Okay. There's not a whole lot of like rifles or hands that are on rifles. I'm just going to do flesh. All right. Remember, if you guys have any comments, you want to talk about anything in general, like if you want to talk about the Durham report, you want to talk about President Biden, you want to talk about Trump, DeSantis, anything like that, I'd be happy to discuss anything about that with you. I'm excited about what's going to happen here next year. I mean, all of America should be excited about the election, but not everybody is. And I get that. Some people don't even care. It's just another day in the mad world. Now I'm using medium flesh tone. Medium flesh tone. It's like got a little bit of a suntan, it seems like. It's not as dark as barbarian flesh, but it's not as light as flat flesh. Barbarian flesh looks like it'd be a good flesh, but this is medium. And I think that this brush might be too big. One thing about World War II, I will try to do the flesh before I do the helmet, because what I'll do is I'll go from the chin past the ears, but on a gradual upward slope, so that I don't accidentally paint the uniform. But I don't mind if I paint the helmet, because I'm getting ready to paint the helmet at the end or afterwards. If that makes sense. Oh, this medium flesh tone is working really well. It looks really good on the contrast with their uniforms and stuff. I'm very happy with it. Now, if you're ever trying to be steady when you're painting, my advice, there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is, and I do both of them, or try to do both of them, is I will have my hands touch each other. I will rest one hand on the other hand so that if one hand moves, the whole thing moves together. But I also will take the subject, usually the hand that's holding the subject, and I will press it up against an inanimate object like a table so that it won't move around. So it will, in fact, stay steady. And that gun is in the way. Okay, there we go. Now remember, at this scale, you are trying to paint every single little detail, but you're also only trying to make it, it's a wargaming piece. It's not a museum piece. And don't try to paint it like it's going to be under a microscope. So what I'm trying to say is paint it so that when you're looking at it like this, it looks good. Not like this, right? Because you can find all the imperfections if you look at it like this. But if you can look at it like this and it looks good, then you did well. Okay. It was starting to get a little blurry. Now the hand up to the face with the binos, I don't care if I get it on the helmet or the binos, because I'm going to come back later and paint the binoculars. These Bofors, I was really scared. Anytime there's little bitty pieces and you're just trying to put together, specifically flak. I was getting a little concerned that it was gonna be too fiddly, too small. But no, the Bofors went together really easy. I thought it was a well made model. I think my fear comes from when I was putting together Old Glory metal black. Those things, they make them harder than they need to be. They make them like they're a Tamiya model or something, and they're not. Okay, that's a shadow. I was like, is that spot not painted? I was like, oh, that's a shadow. because the sight blocks half his face. Okay, where's that other hand? I know he's in there. There we go. See, looking at it like that, I'm like, oh yeah, those guys look really good. Now this guy has a rifle, but that's okay. I don't really, I like to do rifles before I do hands because the hand is gripping the rifle and then it makes it just easier to paint. But if I do the hand first and then come back and do the wood later, there's not really that much difference. It's still, it still looks good together. So are stars common on British vehicles? Was it kind of a universal US and British and Russian? Or because I've got like markings for British and it's like squares and triangles and stuff like that. But I think those are like unit markings, like battalions and companies and stuff. Colored squares or uh, circles or what else we got? Square, circle, diamonds, triangles. But did they use stars? I think they did. Now I've got some stars. Um, I order my 1/100 scale decals from Skytrex, just so you know. I was gonna order some models from Skytrex, but shipping was just way too high. I don't know if they raised the shipping or if I don't remember the shipping, how high it was. But the decals shipping wasn't very high, or I wouldn't have ordered them. The face and the hands holding the binoculars. Okay. The driver. Can't really see his hands because they're down with the steering column or whatever it is. Well, whoever was mowing, apparently they're done. And my wife, she left to go do something, probably shop, because that's what she does. Does that a lot. Hmm. Okay, I probably should do that with this guy as well. Because I'm noticing that he's got an exposed neck under the helmet. Oh yeah, there we go. That's perfect. Lloyd carriers. Where are they supposed to sit? Or because I see they got chairs on the left and right, but on these models that I have, they're covered with boxes. So maybe that's just another way to carry supplies. But I'm using these Lloyd carriers as tow vehicles for anti-tank guns. Now I noticed in Canada's Crucible, the module, the little scenario booklet has those trucks in the pictures next to supply. It'll say here's a supply truck, and it shows that truck. And then when you look at the Army list, it says supply truck, medium truck. So I wonder if they're considering that to be a medium truck. I would have considered it as a light truck. And the quad, that's pretty much only an artillery tractor as well, right? It's not a troop transport. I think. I mean, I really am not up to speed with the British stuff, but I'm getting there. And I wonder what made the British think that the carrier, the universal carrier, was a good idea. It carries like just a handful of people. It's barely armored. Half of their body sticks out the top. It's like it's not a half track. I don't think it has the horsepower. I mean, the entire back is filled with an engine, so maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, it's small, easy to transport. Maybe it's cheap to make. Got to be what it is. All right. These guys are not hard to paint. Nothing I've painted here so far has been hard to paint. It's just time consuming because there's so many little bitty things that you got to paint. So have you guys been watching any TV? Like new TV shows or anything? There's one show that I've been watching that I've kind of enjoy. It's called Silo. It has a it's not specifically Fallout, right? Because they probably don't have the license to call it Fallout. But there are a lot of things in it that are throwbacks to Fallout. Like they found a Pez dispenser and they had no idea what that was. They're like, "What is this? What is this?" You know. They they don't have all their like computer monitors and air conditioning units, refrigerators, and all that stuff. It looks like it's from the 60s. If they had computers in the 60s. You know, like rounded TVs or whatever. It just looks like the aesthetic of a Fallout game. And a lot like The Walking Dead or uh, The Expanse or what's another good one? Well, like The Last of Us or whatever. They have no problem killing off main characters. There's only been 4 episodes that I've seen, and they've already killed off like half of the crew. And I'm like, man, it's rough. You meet a guy and you're like, oh, here's a cool character. Whack, he's dead. You're like, oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of Tim Robbins, but he actually does a good job in this video, in this series. He's not. He well, let me just say he does a good job for his character, what his character is, and how he's portraying him. He's doing a good job. But he's not the main character. He's probably one of the main supporting characters. But that's Silo. It's a post-apocalyptic. Which I'm usually not big into post-apocalyptic uh, stories. Because they're all the same. But this one's slightly different, and I'm kind of digging it. Another show, it's kind of a B rated show, B quality. It's not the best. It's called Arc. Uh, it's actually, I think it's made in Canada, or at least just filmed in Canada, and that was a mistake I just made right there. Um, they're on a spaceship on their way to a new world because Earth is starting to fall apart. People can't survive, so they are basically an ark of people and not animals and insects and stuff, but they have uh, the DNA of all those creatures so that they can, I guess, clone them when they get there. I guess it's easier than having to bring an animal with you. And there's a number of arcs that left Earth, not all at the same time. And the later ones have faster engines than the first ones, so they overtake them or whatever. It's kind of a it's fun. I think it's written or maybe even yeah, I think it's written by the guys that do Stargate or did Stargate or at least one of the writers. But it's not on the story's not on the level of Stargate. But it's just fun. I just watched it. I think the season is over. You would think there was like 12 episodes. Hopefully it gets renewed. It was just fun. What's another good one that I've of course The Last of Us. That was fun. I never played The Last of Us, but I did watch somebody play it when it first came out. So I knew the general idea behind the game, but to be honest, I don't really remember much of the story. I I probably would remember quite a bit more if I was the one actually playing the game. Maybe not, because I don't usually grasp things like that, or I don't dwell on certain storylines. I move on to the next action scene. So, but yeah, it's a good show if you haven't seen it. I know there were some people complaining about one of the episodes where they had some gay men. And they're like, "Why did you bring that up? Why, you know what? Blah blah blah. You know, you're woke." I didn't see it that way. it was just an interesting storyline. It was different. It wasn't the same thing over and over and over. Oh, and The Mandalorian. So, I didn't like the way The Mandalorian ended. I felt like the story was forced at the end. Like they were running out of ideas. And they said, oh, let's just do this. I love me some original Star Wars. You know, Luke. I was going to say Luke Hamill, but no. With Luke and Han and Leia and all that. And then when they went to the prequels, I didn't mind them. I thought they were okay. And some of the animated series I thought were okay. But I can see the direction that Kathleen Kennedy was trying to take Star Wars. And she was ruining it. Destroying the franchise. Because they had an agenda trying to push that ESG BS. But The Mandalorian, to me, it kind of saved Star Wars for me. Because without The Mandalorian, I would not be on the Star Wars. I would be like, I give up on them. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. I had a customer of mine inquire about scale, and he wanted to know if the Plastic Soldier Company infantry was compatible with the Flames of War infantry. And the short answer is yes. But the long answer is a little bit more nuanced than that. The Plastic Soldier Company infantry seems to be just a little bit thinner than the Flames of War guys. But the height is the same. I personally appreciate a variety of figures. I like taking like a Plastic Soldier Company figure and a battle group not a battle of Battlefront. It is Battlefront, but a Battlefront Flames of War figure and an Old Glory figure and a Forged in Battle figure and put them all on the same base because it gives that it gives you a variety, for one thing, of uh, poses. Right, you're not stuck with the same group of guys on every single base. Because, like, if you stick to one brand, all your bases are going to look exactly the same. I didn't want that. So I mix and match my brands. But not only does the poses, not are only the poses varied, but the size of the figure. Okay, let's see if I can get down in there. Yay! Okay, the size of the figure varies as well because not all two human beings have the same body type or body shape or, so maybe a guy's a little bit taller, maybe a guy's a little bit thinner. So, yes, they all work together. If you had to pick one to say it was the worst figure, not the worst, but I mean the worst compatibility, like it's the farthest from the center, I would say that's Old Glory. They make some good miniatures, good poses. I like using them, but I only use them as filler. I don't use them as the core element. I wish I could because they're so inexpensive. But if I was to guess, I'd say they're probably 13 millimeter, not 15s. Okay. But like Old Glory, they make a pack of just Jeep drivers. And so you get a Jeep, throw one of those guys in there. It's super hard to tell that he's um, a little bit thinner than everybody else because there's only one of them, or the guy sitting next to him is the same brand. Yeah, so lately I've not really been concerning myself with that. Those are the three brands that I use. Four brands. Four brands that I use personally. Um, I like them quite a bit. I know there's a company out there, Peter Pig, and I know there's Essex, but I don't do business with them. Now, Warlord, they make great 28 millimeter stuff, I wish they made 15 millimeter and not this Warlord scale and Napoleonics. They made all their stuff's like 13 millimeters. It's all too small. I don't know why they made that business decision. Okay, let me rephrase that. I know why they made that business decision, but their reasoning is flawed. Greed is what made that decision. And the greed is what's going to cause them not to succeed. And normally, Warlord is not greedy. They have the reasonably priced figures. All their miniatures are reasonably priced. Not like Games Workshop. Okay. Ooh. Now I'm on to these guys. Sweet. And again, it's okay to overpaint. Just don't overpaint onto the uniform. And even if you do, don't sweat it. I can always go back over it with some field drab, do some touch-ups. Yeah, but this is also just opinion. They didn't really say this. But this is what turns me away. They decided to go with their own scale so that if you want to play well, first of all, if I want to play their game, I can do it in any scale. Right? I can do it in 15 millimeter, I can do it in 28 millimeter, I can do it whatever millimeters I want. Which, okay, so I'm okay with that. But then when they're selling their figures, like if you want to buy their figures from them, once you get started, now you're locked in because there's no other manufacturers that make figures in that scale. Now, what they're thinking is they've got you. Now you're stuck. Now you have to buy their stuff. And the problem with that is, well, a discerning wargamer will say to themselves, no, first of all, I don't want to be stuck with a bunch of figures that are uniquely scaled and they don't have every nation. So I'm stuck a second way in that I only have a limited choice of figures. So customers, in my opinion, are not buying the game. I wish they did it in 15 millimeter. Because then I would have bought that game and I probably would have been using their figures and then filling my holes with other brands like Old Glory or Who knows what? I'd like to see them do a bolt action game in 15 millimeter. I love bolt action. I think it's a really good man-to-man game, but it's not designed for a larger battle like a company. It's only designed for like a platoon, where battle group is designed to be played with a company. Or two or three. Okay, yep. Which is good because um, I'm not really into the whole, and you guys probably know this if you watch any of my videos. I probably have said this 100 times. I'm not into point-based games. I don't mind having a game that has point values, don't get me wrong. I just don't like the tournament style games where two people get together, they spend points, and then they take their army and they fight it up against each other. I'm not into that. I'm a scenario guy. Something that was historically accurate. This happened on this day. These were the forces that were engaged. Let's recreate it and see exactly what happened on that day. Or let's see if you can fix it. It's an exercise of learning when you play with points, and that's your only reason for that's your only composition of your army is based on an army list and points. You're not really learning anything. But a game like Canada's Crucible, which is a campaign, uh, it is point driven, but it's also historically positioned and portrayed. Um, and there's limits to how you spend your points. So, so it's kind of a best of both worlds. It's point driven, but it's also historical. So I thought about going to NashCon this year and hosting another game of Battle Group. My original plan was to have my Napoleonic rules written by then, and then take it down there and play test it. But I can tell you right now, that's not going to happen. Hey, the mailman just came by. I should say male person because it's a woman. Okay, okay, we're almost getting to a point where they're starting to come together. Okay, faces. Hands. Okay. All the machine guns are done. I've only got these 4 right here, and they're moving away from flesh. So I've got this game that I play on Wednesday nights. It's called Harn. Harn is a Columbia Games role-playing game, fantasy game. But it's fantasy without the fantasy, if that makes sense. They call it low fantasy. I don't think they like that term, because every time I hear an interview between any of the Columbia Games guys, they don't like to call it low fantasy. But it is. It's low fantasy. Whether they like that term or not. Yes, there's monsters, there's magic, but there's so little of it around the world. That's why I call it low fantasy. You don't see monsters around every corner. It's not a dungeon crawl where you're going through hallways trying to find the treasure at the end of the quest or something like that. It's none of that. Ooh, itchy back. Okay, I had an itch just fly through my back. Okay. So let's do some of these 17 pounders. Let's see what we do with those guys. So when the ARV finally comes in, I guess I'm going to paint one as an American and paint one as a British. And then sell the third one. Guy has a hand on the ground, but I don't know what he's holding on to, or if anything. That might be just an imperfection of the mold. Okay, where's this other guy's hand? Okay. I think those guys are all ready. Yeah, even on my anti-tank guns, the crews are mixed. Right? Because I took some Flames of War crew and swapped them out with one of the Forged in Battle crew. Okay, there we go. Just so that I could have a little bit of variety. Okay, this guy's a different guy. He's kneeling and not prone. And he's got a shell in his hand. Okay. Yeah, because the Forged in Battle guys, they come with a crew of 4, but I only need 3 for this gun. So two of them are the 4 from the pack, so there's a rotated option. And then the third guy is completely different. He's from Flames of War. Okay. Last but not least, the Bofors. We're just doing flesh. Thinking about doing helmets next just to knock them out. Because they're like the easiest thing in the world to do. Time-wise. I think our time might have expired. You know, it might be past 1 o'clock. But that's okay. I'm on a roll. I'm going to keep painting. I don't have any other plans. Like, I'm not going to get outside and bang on the concrete today. I decided not to worry about it today. Let my back heal up a little bit. Oh, but what I was saying was on Wednesday nights, if you're interested in watching a live stream of some role playing, you should check us out. We've got some good players and we got a good story going on. Took me a while to write. Still writing it actually. It's not fully complete, but I have the entire summary done. I already know how that's going to go. Okay, so shouldn't need medium flesh anymore. Evergen. Okay. That's dark gray. Ah, here it is, olive gray. Going with an olive gray for the helmets. There is a, not on here, but there is a suggestion on the back of the painting guide to do olive gray and Russian uniform mixed. Okay, give me a second. But Vallejo says see if I can't find World War II project. If I zoom in too much, I think the font will disappear. Okay. So I'm looking here. See, they say khaki for the webbing, right? And the webbing and the uniform are almost the same color, right? But I want to go with a lighter tone for the uniform. This is all paratroopers over here, but that doesn't give me like everything I need to know. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can. Maybe if I put an R, that might help. Maybe if I go World War II, that might narrow it down. Okay. That didn't help. Try that. See, I don't want it to be this. That's the 8th Army, right? That's early war. I want it to be later war. Yeah, that's not helping. I love that. British brown. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I specifically say okay, what does this guy say? Okay, here we go. See, that just says Russian uniform helmet. Who made this? This looks like a warlord. This looks like a Flames of, yep, Flames of War.
English uniform, khaki webbing. See how it's lighter? Camo smocks. Boots, black. Never use black. Gunmetal, beige. Metal helmets and tank color. Russian uniform. I disagree. Okay. Bag, tunic. Anyway, that's 8th Army anyway. And this other company would say brown violet. Oh, that's early war, right? Yeah, that's not the one. I think it's people just, yeah, this is the book. That's one of the books that I've got, but it doesn't really give colors. It just gives pictures. But remember, at a smaller scale, I think Russian uniform is actually not right. I want it to be more olive. Okay, well, it has been recommended that it's Russian uniform and olive gray, right? Russian uniform, olive gray. They almost look exactly the same. I'm not using that. I refuse. I'm not using it. I ain't doing it. You can't make me. Now there's olive green option 1. I don't like option 1. I like option 2. Okay, and then I've also got green gray, which it almost looks like it's already pre-mixed for the olive gray and the Russian uniform. And this is green gray. Actually, it still looks too gray. And then there's olive drab, which looks too green. Yeah, I'm just going to do straight up olive gray. I'll do 1 or 2 figures, and then we'll see what it looks like. Junk mail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was Alex.
One drop. This is a test. Just looking at that one guy's helmet, it looks like, to me, it looks like the perfect color.
olive gray. It's not focused, but you get the idea. It looks very green. I'm waiting for it to dry because it will dry a more accurate color. And again, remember, I'm going to wash these guys, and once I do, it's going to draw the color down. It's going to make it darker, which I don't want it to be too dark. It's getting there. Gotta let it kind of dry a little bit. Actually, this olive green is probably a closer. I'm gonna try another unit with this olive. Option 1, olive option 1. So just put that right there to let that know. Whoa, this is going on like super green. But it might dry differently, so. Yep, I have a feeling that this is too green. I don't know if you can really see that. I don't have the autofocus turned on. See if I can. There you go. Yeah, it's got a too green, I think. There's also something called Okay, that's darkening up quite a bit. Kind of liking that. Yeah, this looks too gray. There's olive green, and then there's dark green. I think this might actually be the one to use right here. I know it's weird. I went into my fantasy paints, but this is called Elf Green. And just comparing it visually, it looks like it's the right color. Oh, come on now, Elf. There you go. Elf Green. Yep, this looks like the right color. Looks like a pre-mix. Okay, just going on, it looks correct. Also, don't worry, you're gonna have to let it dry because it might darken up. I can almost guarantee it'll darken up because that's the way the world works. Okay, we got 3 tests of helmet colors. Okay. Well, it's definitely not this because that looks too gray. That makes sense. That could be a good color. It is a dark color. This olive gray is very dark. But this elf green, I think it's right on the money. Yeah. I don't know how focused I can get, but I think that's right on the money. Where you can see this is the olive option 1. It looks too blue, right? Looks too grayish blue. I don't like it. Okay, so we're definitely not using that one. And the olive gray is also a very nice color. It's just dark. That's a good color. It's just dark. So if you compare the olive gray to the elf green,
Olive gray, elf green. Whoa. I think I like this one best.
Because this looks like it could very easily have Russian green mixed with it. Okay, not repainting those. I think that one, the olive gray, I think worked really well. Not going to repaint it. I am going to repaint this guy, but we're going to go elf green on all the helmets. Like I said, I'm not doing that one. I am going to do this one. All right. Yeah, it saves me from having to mix. Because this elf green looks like it's already Russian uniform mixed with olive gray. Now that's killer. Now some of these guys, specifically the ones I'm doing right now, have camo nets. I'm just painting directly over the camo net, and then we'll go back in later and dry brush some kind of khaki or something on top of it to make it look like there's a net on top of a green helmet. Elf green would almost work for the hull. You know, just paint the entire hull elf green. I think it would work. I should take notes of like what color I'm using. That way, if I ever need to do these in the future, I'll know what colors I used. I know I've got this video reference I can always go back and watch. I think I ordered some British Jeeps as well. The only British Jeeps I have right now are the airborne Jeeps. So I just need regular Jeeps. Yeah, I had a customer ask me about the Roman legionaries that I had for sale on the store. Uh, he said, "Hey, would you sell me some decals, to go with those?" And I was like, "Hold on now. I think decals are included." So I went and checked, and I basically took one of the new boxes, opened it up, and yes, lo and behold, there were decals in there. So I told him, I said, "Hey, you don't have to spend any extra money on decals. Um, they're included. Warlord Games, Legionaries, they have their Roman lightning bolt decals." So he saved some money. Yeah. So there was this old war game out there. It was Napoleonic, I do believe. Um, but it was a fantasy Napoleonic game. You had orcs and elves, but they would wear shakos and I think the elves were French. I think the dwarves were German, Prussians, and I think the orcs were the British. I think. I never played that game, but I always thought it was funny. You know, why would I collect a Napoleonic army of fantasy figures? If I'm gonna paint Napoleonics, or if I was interested in Napoleonics, why wouldn't I just paint Napoleonics? Or if I'm interested in fantasy, why wouldn't I just get a fantasy army? Yeah, it just seemed like a ridiculous concept. I don't remember what the name of that game was. So, Forged in Battle has an Ancients Miniatures rule set called Empire and Eagles, or Rise of the Empire, or something Empire, I think. Um, I'm thinking about getting a copy of it, just to see how it compares to my Meg, Mortimet Glorium. Mortimet Glorium is really cool. I really like it. And I'm basing all my ancient armies for that rule set. But like you said, I'm always willing to try something new. And if it's a faster play game, like it doesn't take a lot of math or it doesn't take a lot of, it's not complicated, I might enjoy it better. Not that Meg is complicated, because it's not. The only thing I don't like about Meg is they have like a unique movement system. Not hard to grasp. It's just weird. Nothing wrong with being weird, but yeah. Why can't you just give me inches? Why do you have to give me base widths? Because that's how far you move. You move a number of your base widths. Wider the base, faster you move. But the bases are preset, like what units have what size. Yeah, why couldn't you just say, you move 3 inches, you move 6 inches? I don't understand why you got to be complicated. Okay, we're repainting this because it's too blue. It almost looked Fallschirmjäger colors. Not that blue, but it was pretty darn blue. That solved that problem. Okay, after these helmets, I think we'll end the video. I might jump into talking about the... I don't really have a lot to talk about, where I would have already talked about it. Weekly, I'm doing videos on store updates, but it's more than just a store update. It is an update, but it's more of a weekly update of what projects I'm working on. So, because I will tell you what I finished in the previous week, what I'm working on this week, and what kind of supplies I got in, and what kind of miniatures I got in. Product, games, miniatures, rule books, whatever. And so it's kind of just keeping you informed of my status. But it also lets you know that, if you're shopping for a specific thing, and I make an announcement, hey, I got this tank in, or I'm selling this, or I just painted these for the store, or something, then you would know and you can go shopping. And I've been doing a lot of video games late at night as well. And I just started a series that if you're watching this video with me, watching me paint World War II miniatures, British, you might enjoy this series that I just started. It's called The Troop. It's a UK and Commonwealth World War II turn-based game. Immediately after D-Day. Right, so it's like the campaigns of the UK Commonwealth immediately after D-Day. It's turn-based, hex-based. I've got 3 episodes recorded. I've got 1 episode uploaded. I was planning on doing maybe 1 a week. Something like that. Because I think there's like 20 scenarios. And I'm doing them in order. I'm doing scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, etc., etc. Because it's kind of like a campaign, but not really. Because whatever you do on one mission doesn't carry over to the next mission. It's not. Each mission is its own mission. I wish there was some kind of carryover, like, okay, you start with this many troops, and then as you go, you either get additional reinforcements, or you don't, and you lose troops, and you got to fight the next scenario with understrength platoon or whatever. I think it would make for a different type of game. Plus, they've got an army point buy, so you can build your own army. It's called skirmish. You build your own forces, and then the computer generates your opponent, and you can play like battles that are randomly generated, which basically I think is a good thing for replayability, because you can play one mission and then try it again with a different composition of troops. But that's not what we're doing. We're playing the scenarios and going from one scenario to the next. It's in early access, but it's been out for a couple of years now. Okay, I think we are good to go on the alt green.
Just grabbing one of the older, drier, like it would have more, it would be drier. Come on, focus.
Well, maybe my eyes. Let me.
There we go. Yeah, I like that helmet color. Kind of blends with the hull. And the canvas. I still got a lot of work to do. Hmm. Maybe not dry yet. You can kind of see how it's still wet. Alright guys, well that's where we're going to end the video. Let's go ahead and hit OK on that. And let's close that. And thanks for coming out and checking out this video. And expect to see Harn on Wednesdays. And more of these normally during the week. And I'll keep you informed on what happens with the mailbox. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video.